Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. You guys know what time it is. Time to talk about current events in the online fitness community. And for those of you who like these type of videos, please remember to click like down below. If you haven't subscribed yet, click that subscribe button and hit that little bell notification button. Ring my bell, baby. So, on to current events. I was watching a video by OmarIsuf's, the shaman philosopher of YouTube fitness, and it wasn't his intended purpose in making this video to go the direction I'm going to go with it, but he raised a lot of points. He talked about stuff that he talked about with Dr. Eric Tressler. He talked about stuff he's talked about with Dr. Eric Helms, PhD. And, he talked quite a bit about bodybuilding, and I think one of the things that gets highlighted, and I'm going to link Omar's video down below, I think one of the things that gets missed in all this that I felt like he highlighted but didn't outright say it is that actual natural bodybuilding is bad for your gains. And that's kind of one of the points I always raise with people when it comes up with this topic of bodybuilding. And by bodybuilding, I want to make my stance very clear. I mean the word bodybuilding, not body space building, two words, which would mean building your body. I mean bodybuilding. It's a single word, and it means it's a form of physique competition. And what I try to tell people is that bodybuilding itself is bad any way you break it down. And I'm not saying those of you who care about your physiques are bad or wrong, okay? I don't want it to be taken that way. Because, look, I have clients who care about strength first and foremost, but they still come back and say, hey, man, can I do some extra? Can I bring my delts up a little bit, just a little more stack? Can I do a little bit of extra bicep work so I can have the guns for the girls, right? I mean, those are my clients. It's fine. I'm not saying that's a problem. What I'm saying is this obsession with the leanness that happens in the bodybuilding world it's harmful to your gains, guys. It will hurt your gains. So bodybuilding is bad any way you break it down. If you go the enhanced route, I mean, you're poisoning yourself with excessive abuse of tons of substances, right? I mean, these guys are on sometimes $50,000 worth of stuff a year. I mean, it's ludicrous. All right, that should be very obvious. I think everybody can look at that and say, hey, it's probably not the best idea, right? It's not a good idea. But then they'll look at the natural route, and let's be realistic here. It is almost impossible to be a natural bodybuilder and be jacked. It's almost impossible. And it's almost impossible to do it and be psychologically healthy. And it's not because these guys care about how they look. I mean, if you guys want to get jacked and you want to diet down and get leaner and get a six-pack, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. If that makes you happy and it keeps you active and it makes you fit and healthy and strong and athletic, by all means, please do so. Please do so. I want everybody out there to train. I want everybody to live. I want everyone to care about their fitness and health. If I could do anything, it would be to get everybody to do that. And if that's what you need to motivate yourself to get into the lifestyle and habit of training and eating a good diet, then by all means use that as your motivation. Right, that's only a positive thing. The problem we come to is the competitions themselves actually strip enormous amounts of muscle off of you. And that's one of the things that he was saying that Dr. Tressler points out with his research, is that they notice as you get leaner and leaner and leaner, the problem that they have is that stress levels go up. Chronically elevated cortisol levels tend to go up. Your leptin gets messed up. Your ghrelin gets messed up. When you start going under 10% body fat, your testosterone levels get lower and lower and lower as you go. And that's something a lot of guys don't realize. And I'll be honest with you. Anytime you see a guy who's making good money and he stays really lean year-round, he's usually using a little exogenous testosterone. You can't stay at 7% body fat for a year straight and maintain your psychological health, emotional health, stuff like that. It's just not healthy. They're doing other stuff. And I'm not knocking them for that. I mean, people do what they have to do to be happy and be fulfilled and make their money, right? I mean, everyone's got their hustle. There's definitely people out there who make their living staying ultra lean while giving fitness advice. But you need to understand those guys are not doing that natty. And I'm not judging them for that. But some of the audience might be under the impression that it's possible to do that, okay? They might be under the impression that it's possible to drop down to 7% body fat and stay there for a really long period of time and do that. And it's just not. I'm not talking about 10%. I'm not talking about 11%. talking about 12%. You guys can look real good in that range. You really can. But you can also gain muscle and be fit and psychologically healthy and everything else. All right, the problem you run into is the dieting down itself. As they noted, is they frequently find guys who are losing up to 10 pounds of muscle tissue when they do this. I want you to think about that. So if a person diets down every single year and they're losing 7, 8, 9, 10 pounds, in the worst case, 10 pounds of muscle every time they do a contest, even if you talk about muscle memory to regain that, how fast do you really think muscle memory works? It maybe replicates your noob gains. Okay, so let's go over to the point. If you were to spend, say, 20 weeks, because that's what a natural bodybuilder needs to do, 20 weeks dieting down every year, that's 5 months out of your year to get down to that, whatever, 6% body fat, 7% body fat, and you lose 8 to 10 pounds of muscle doing it. Even if you have muscle memory and it replicates noob gains and you hit that ideal Goldilocks zone to where you can regain 2 pounds of muscle every month, how long do you need to regain that muscle? 4 or 5 months. So you're basically spending 10 months every year, 10 months every year losing muscle and then and regaining what you lost. All right? That only leaves you 2 months every year to make any progress. 2 months. That's it. How big do you think anybody's really going to get doing that? Nobody. Nobody. In fact, I know natural bodybuilders out there who are genetically gifted, and you watch what they do over the years and what happens. When they compete, they're never that big, right? They're never ultimately that big. But then, and I'm talking guys who've been competing 5 or 6 years, 7 years, they don't reach their potential, right? They get ripped over and over. Then what happens? You watch them take, and I've watched guys do this, they take 5 years off from competing. Then they get big. Even if they stay fairly lean, and I'm talking guys who don't go over 14, 15% body fat. I'm talking about guys who maintain visible abs year-round. They do a little bit of bulking and cutting, a little bit back and forth. I've watched guys who've done natural bodybuilding for years just take 5 years off from even competing at all. So they're not really bodybuilding anymore. They're lifting, they're serious, they're dedicated, and then all of a sudden, over the course of that next 5 years, what do? They put on 10, 11 pounds of solid muscle. Normally, we would say you can't do that. You can't put on 10 pounds of muscle like that after you've been training that long, right? Even in 5 years. But I've watched guys do it. Why? Because they're not losing their gains all the time. It is almost impossible. It is almost biologically impossible for a guy to reach his maximum natural status if he's cutting down contest lean all the time. If you do it every single year, you will not even reach your natural potential in 10 years. So if you spent 3-4 years building a base and you jump into the natural bodybuilding thing and you do one show every year, 5-6 years from now, 10 years from now, you probably will still not be at your natural potential. You're not going to reach it. It's the actual shows that strip the muscle off of you. I mean, and I know personal friends of mine who have seen do this, who I've known long enough that I can think of a couple who come to mind who took just 5+ years off completely from doing any of their shows. Now they're a lot more jacked. They're way more jacked. They're way more jacked as a result of it. They're bigger now after they just completely quit bodybuilding than when they were competing. And it's because they're not doing the dieting down. And that's what people have to remember. And there's a lot of that of what he breaks down. The actual dieting process destroys your gains, right? It messes up your metabolism, messes up your hormones, messes with your gains. It messes with you psychologically, because that's something they pointed out also, is that a lot of these hormones affect you on a stress level. Yes, elevated stress itself will make you lose muscle. Elevated stress will interfere with your fat loss. So that's something that he brought up, and I think it's valuable. I think it's extremely important for us to understand that. I'm going to agree with Omar 100%. He is dead on accurate. Maintaining stress levels, regulating stress, fatigue management, stress management makes a massive difference in your muscle gains. It makes a massive difference in your body composition, right? It does. Absolutely does. And I think that's an extremely valuable part of a fitness lifestyle, right? It's a critical part, critical component. However, people who keep getting really, really ripped doing the whole bodybuilding thing unless they're using exogenous substances to maintain all these hormones in their body and to regulate cortisol and everything, because a lot of these things blunt cortisol. Unless they're doing that, what's happening? They're creating an extremely stressful environment. You're creating, in terms of a hormonal fatigue management situation, they're repeatedly creating one of the most detrimental situations they could possibly create, and they're sustaining it for months and months and months on end regularly, right? That is actually killing their gains. And it's not just killing their gains, it's killing them. It's killing them. Because again, the stress levels affect your brain, they affect your mood, they affect your self-esteem, right? It can have long-term effects on your hormone profile. And then on top of it, it creates eating disorders, body image disorders. It's not a good thing, guys. Not a good thing. Train, guys. Get in and train. And what I would say to anyone out there, avoid the whole bodybuilding thing. Step away from the whole physique contest thing. I'm not saying you can't train to look good. Right? There's nothing wrong with training to look good. I want to make that clear. It's not what I'm telling anybody. But the physique competition itself, because of the level of leanness involved and what's required to even be placed, that's detrimental to your progress. It's detrimental to your muscle growth. It's detrimental to your body composition. It's detrimental to your physical and psychological health. Right? You need to run from that stuff, guys. All right, guys, so that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.